Walk on Jamaica, welcome back to Centrally Speaking. I'm Anna.
And I'm Sheena.
Thank you for joining us, as we certainly do hope that you have been learning about the work and function of Bank of Jamaica and our partner agencies.
Welcome viewers to another program in our series. Stay with us as we start the conversation around important matters of economics and finance, matters of national importance that have an impact on your life.
Well, it goes without saying, we all need money to survive, true that. And sensible savers need assurance that their money is safe. Antoinette McKain, CEO of the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation, is back this season with an update on what the JDIC is doing to protect your money, our money.
So Anna, the last time Antoinette McKain was here, she told us about the deposit insurance of, I think, $600,000. And now we've heard that it has increased. As a matter of fact, it has doubled.
It has doubled,
to $1.2 million.
Right, so she's going to tell us, the benefits of it, of the coverage being doubled and how many more depositors are now covered. Know that there is an increase in the insurance coverage.
That should be an interesting conversation.
I am looking forward to it.
Our special guest will join us in a few with more details on how the JDIC is working to keep our money safe. We'll get to that right after we check with the streets.
Did you know that your money in your bank account is insured up to 1.2 million Jamaican dollars?
That sounds good because at least we'll get back something. You won't lose totally in the process.
That's an improvement from the 600,000 that I know it was before, and I still believe that they could increase the figure some more.
Well, it depends on how much. Suppose you have more money in the bank and it fails and they are going to give you less. I think that is injustice. What the bank should do is to go back to the drawing board and get things in a better manner to situate that they protect the customer, that they get their words.
I think that is wrong. I think if I put my money in, I would like to get it out the same amount that I put in, not less.
Yes, a good gesture, but if you have 5 million and you only get 1.2, that doesn't make no sense. This is how much you lose. You lose 3.5. So I don't understand that.
I think it's a good step, especially for persons who work so hard to save up, I guess for cars, for houses. You wouldn't want to know that something could happen and then your savings are gone.
It's a good thing getting back something, but what if I have more money than that in the bank? Why not give me back everything that I lose? And to how the government said you're not going to get back the 1.2, when tax and everything come out tight, you probably get back a quarter of what you have in there. So they are trying something, but I think they need to do better.
Boy, Sheena. Yeah, that's my favorite part of the program. No, man, the public perspective, always interesting. But still to come on Centrally Speaking, we find out what the JDIC is doing to protect your money. But first, let's get a word in from the Bank of Jamaica.
Take it down. Reggae music is the heartbeat of the country.
Low and stable inflation
is the heartbeat of the economy.
Welcome back to Centrally Speaking. I'm Anna.
And I'm Sheena. In a time of uncertainty, people are banking on their money being protected. Antoinette McKain, CEO of the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation, JDIC for short, joins us now to tell us about the work of her agency in doing just that. Ms. McKain, welcome back to Centrally Speaking.
Thank you so much, Anna and Sheena, for having the JDIC back in this important program.
Yes, thanks so much for coming back. It's good to see you.
It is good
to see that you've been well.
Thank you.
All right, so first off, Mrs. McKain, remind us of the role of the JDIC.
JDIC was formed in 1998 to protect depositors who had deposits in our banking system. And our banking system, let me just define that for our audience, are the commercial banks, the merchant banks, and the building societies. So depositors in those institutions, your deposits are protected by the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation.
So I noticed you didn't say credit unions. That's not included.
Credit unions are deposit-taking institutions in Jamaica, and they're a very important part of the framework of our financial system. But at this time, JDIC does not cover the deposits in credit unions.
Okay.
If credit unions come under the regulation of the Bank of Jamaica, then JDIC will cover credit unions in the same way that it covers the deposits in commercial banks, merchant banks, and building societies.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
So we understand that there has been an increase in the coverage, the insurance coverage limit. I remember the last time you came, it was 600,000. What is the new limit?
The new limit for each depositor is $1,200,000. So we have doubled the coverage limit at August 31st, 2020.
Define who is a depositor.
Yes.
And what categories of accounts does this cover?
Yes. So depositors are persons who have savings accounts in the commercial banks, merchant banks, and building societies. Your depositors. So your deposit account can be just a savings account, a checking account is a deposit account. Also, even if you have a time deposit, you know, a deposit that you put to mature at a period in the future, that's also covered by deposit insurance. Yes. So those are depositors in our banking system.
Based on what I hear you explaining, if I have, for example, 200,000, you know, little bit of money, and and a bank fails, a deposit-taking institution fails, I will get back my 200,000.
Full 200,000 you would get back. That's
correct.
From the JDIC, yes.
Then suppose somebody like Sheena will have like 3 million. She just get back
maybe 5 million.
You know, just get back 1.2.
Sheena would be able to get from the JDIC $1.2 million on that account that she has. Now, of course, then you would ask, so what happened to the rest of her money?
Man, I was about to ask.
And what would happen is that the bank, if it fails, it would go into what we call liquidation, which is just where you get the assets together and try to pay out the liabilities. So Sheena would possibly, if there are enough assets, be able to get back that balance that was not covered by the deposit insurance, that balance that is more than $1,200,000.
So using the example, she has 3 million, she gets back 1.2 from JDIC, but if the bank is liquidated sufficiently, she'll get back the 1.7
she may be able to get back 1.8 or a portion, you know, thereof, depending on the assets of the bank.
There is a thrust to ensure that Jamaicans participate in banking services. What would you say to encourage Jamaicans to open accounts and assure them that they can trust the bank that they have started those accounts with?
Having bank accounts, savings accounts in particular, is a good way to, just generally save your money instead of having it just in your home under a mattress or in a jar. So you can save there. As well, you can make payments to other persons quite easily there. And in fact, because of the increase in electronic banking, it's even that much easier. You can do those transactions on your telephone, on your mobile phones. So it does make it easier. You don't even have to actually go into the bank to transfer funds to friends, family, and persons with whom you do business. So that's also very important. Also, having a savings account, a bank account, helps you also to budget a bit. You know, so that's a very important aspect of your life, being able to budget, no matter how small your savings may be. That's very important. Also, having a relationship with a bank is a very good thing. If you have a small business, you may want a loan from the bank. You could use the bank account, the savings account, as somewhat collateral for the bank. So the bank develops a relationship with you. So when you want to do your business, you can go right back to that bank. But it all starts with that savings account. It's important. And it's safe because those deposits, those savings that you have in the bank are covered by the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation up to that maximum of $1,200,000.
Right.
So it's important for all those reasons to establish that relationship with a regulated financial institution like the banks.
So could I add to that? Would it be correct to add to that that having a bank account gives you access to online services, payment services? You can shop online, overseas online,
Absolutely.
local online.
Absolutely.
All right, so that is another plus.
Absolutely.
For having
and you
a
also
bank
have
account.
access to payment cards.
Right.
And credit cards.
Right.
That allow you. So having savings accounts, having bank accounts opens up for you a wider financial world for you potentially.
Right.
So it's very important to have it. And it's also important for us as JDIC to emphasize to the public, to persons who want to make deposits, to persons who have deposits, that those deposits are protected by the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Antoinette, I've been reliably informed that JDIC was born out of the Great Bank of Jamaica. Is this so?
Yes, yes.
Would you like to tell me a little bit about that, Genesis?
Out of the important Bank of Jamaica. And the Bank of Jamaica, of course, continues to be very, very important to our economy and to the ordinary man, because the Bank of Jamaica, as the central bank, works very hard to contain inflation, so that those deposits that you have in the bank are not eroded too quickly because prices have gone up so high. So yes, it is, it is a very important Great Bank of Jamaica. And the policymakers, in their wisdom, in 1998, entrusted to the Bank of Jamaica the formation of the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation to be a part of the financial system safety net. So the Bank of Jamaica is also a regulator of banks.
Yes, indeed.
So they look at what the banks are doing, ensure that the banks are keeping their financial condition within certain limits. And then the JDIC was formed now to actually protect those deposits if that bank does in fact fail.
I just want to be clear and in the minds of our viewers. So does JDIC report to BOJ? Is it a separate entity from BOJ, or is it a partner agency of BOJ?
Yes. First of all, I'd just say, no, the JDIC does not report to the Bank of Jamaica.
The
JDIC is an independent statutory organization. And that's very important, because the independence of the deposit insurer is part of what makes the system that much stronger. So even though it was formed and had its genesis out of work that the Bank of Jamaica did, it is an independent agency. And that is so that it can make its own decisions guided by what is important to be able to effect this purpose of protecting depositors. So that's part of the strength of the system. JDIC, however, collaborates a lot with the Bank of Jamaica. And we have very frequent meetings between the heads of the Bank of Jamaica, the head of the Bank of Jamaica, the head of the JDIC, as well as the financial secretary, the head of JDIC, and the governor, the financial secretary, the governor of the bank. Oh yes, we have very frequent meetings to discuss, to share information, to ensure that we all know how banks, the condition of banks, to ensure that the proper regulation is taking place, and also to ensure that the JDIC will have adequate funds if a bank fails to pay out depositors.
How many persons are covered under this insurance limit?
Yes, at the coverage limit, that is now $1,200,000. Approximately 98% of the deposit accounts in our banking system are fully covered up to that $1,200,000.
Well, that's reassuring.
Absolutely, it's important, and I'll say it again, I'll repeat it for your viewers, that the JDIC protects your deposits in the banks, commercial banks, building society, merchant banks, up to $1,200,000. And let me go further to explain as well, because it gets even better when I give you some more explanation. Does it include businesses? Yes. And in fact, JDIC covers the deposits based on the type of deposits you have. And normally, you will have the different legal categories of ownership of a deposit account are individual accounts. You own the account alone, yourself. You may own the an account as a joint owner. You may own an account as a business. And you may own an account as a trust. trustee, where you're holding it for the benefit of someone else. Those are 4 categories of accounts. And each of those 4 categories of accounts will get the deposit insurance payment up to $1,200,000.
Right.
Each is seen as a different category.
Okay.
And let me go further so that your public understands this very clearly.
Right.
If Anna has
a
personal account,
right.
individual account with $1.2 million in it, and Sheena has an individual account with $1.2 million in it, you both get $1.2 million if your bank fails from the JDIC. If Anna has an account with $1.2 million in it, along with her husband, so that it's a joint account, Anna gets $1.2 million
per
on
account.
her,
on
her individual account.
Okay.
And Anna and her husband holding the joint account is also entitled to deposit insurance of up to $1.2 million on that account as well.
Okay.
And let me go further.
Yeah.
If Anna has her individual account, Anna has a joint account with her husband, and Anna has a business account.
Yes. That's another $1.2 million.
That's another $1.2 million.
Right.
Don't forget, no. It depends on what you had in the account.
I'm not going to stop opening accounts.
I must put money in them.
And break them up.
No, absolutely. You could do that.
Yes.
And that is per bank.
Right. Per bank.
Per bank.
Oh, that's good to know.
So, absolutely.
That is good to know.
So if you had these funds in Bank A, and you had funds in Bank B, those are 2 separate entitlements that you will have if those banks fail. Right. But of course, we don't expect any bank failures.
No, we don't expect that. We don't anticipate that.
We don't anticipate that.
Well, speaking of failures, personally, we have not experienced a bank failure in recent times. So, but outside of that, has JDIC had reason to refund depositors under the scheme? And then I'll ask you a question on how JDIC is funded.
Right. Well, as you indicated, Anna, Jamaica has not had a banking failure since the late 1990s when we had our financial sector crash.
Right.
We have not.
Okay,
so
great.
JDIC has not had to pay out depositors.
Okay.
So that's very fortunate for us.
Right, yes.
So the next question, how are we funded?
How are you funded, yes.
So we are funded through the banks themselves.
Oh, I see.
The banks are obliged by law to pay JDIC what is called a premium every year. And that premium is based upon the amount of deposits that they're holding in their bank at the end of any one year.
Right.
Now, December 31st of each year. They pay that premium in April to the JDIC. The JDIC invests those monies. So along with those premiums and investment income, we build up a deposit, what's called a deposit insurance fund.
I see.
That fund today is approximately $28 billion.
Wow.
So it's quite a significant fund.
Yes.
It is.
And that's billion Jamaican dollars.
28 billion Jamaican dollars,
right,
approximately.
Right. So the fact that there has not been a bank failure, well, perhaps since your inception in 1998, it speaks well to our financial system stability.
It does.
And the strength of regulation.
It does. It certainly does.
Great. So that should further assure the depositing public that the system is strong on its own. But if there were to be a failure, how does the public access the funds through JDIC?
The deposits, yes. JDIC, there are a number of options.
Right.
And you know, as time passes, there become more and more options, in particular because of the technology.
Yeah.
We could fund your deposit insurance payment on a card. On a card that we ask you to pick up.
Right.
We could also transfer your deposit insurance payments to another bank, a good bank, viable, strong, operating bank. And we could fund those banks close to where you are, and then you could go and pick up your deposit insurance payments from there. We could also write checks, but you know, those are becoming a little obsolete.
Yes, obsolete.
But very likely it will be done through some electronic means in the future.
Okay.
That's for sure.
JDIC has been doing a lot. And on the note of the public, what if they want to reach you? Why would they contact you? That's one. And secondly, how can they reach you?
Our mediums are YouTube,
yes,
Twitter, the web.
Okay.
And our main telephone number is 876 9265 225.
Right.
And you can speak first with our communications officers. Ask for the communication person, and all the information you need we'll give to the public. And as well, look at our website, www.jdic, and our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yes, it's quite easy.
So there you have it, viewers. Today we met Antoinette McKain, the CEO of the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation. We hope you found the discussion interesting. Ms. McKain, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sheena, and thank you so much, Anna, for giving me this opportunity for JDIC to continue to inform the public that their savings are protected.
Yeah, man, we really did learn a lot.
We learned a lot today.
Here are everyday phrases related to money and finance, but we do not know how or why people started using them. Let's uncover the facts. As good as gold. The phrase, as good as gold, is used to describe something or someone as genuine or authentic. When banknotes were first introduced, they weren't considered to be money in the sense we now think of them, but they were promissory notes. Gold or silver was real money with real value, whereas these notes were just promises to pay in coin. Thus, gold could be considered the most reliable or genuine of all currency. Time is money. This expression, which means wasted time equals wasted money, is often attributed to American President Benjamin Franklin. The phrase is quoted in a short essay Franklin wrote titled Advice to a Young Tradesman. Break the bank. Usually used to describe something costing too much, the origins of this phrase has nothing to do with banks at all. The phrase actually has its roots in gambling and refers to when a gambler wins more money than a casino or establishment can afford to pay out. The phrase is believed by scholars to date back to the 1600s. Pretty penny. The expression, which means a large or considerable amount of money, is often attributed to special gold pennies worth the equivalent of the 20 silver pennies that Henry III had created in the 13th century. Since the gold pennies were more valuable than the silver pennies, they became known as pretty pennies. Born with a silver spoon in your mouth. This phrase refers to someone born into privilege and wealth. It is believed to have been used by the British as early as the 1800s. Back in the medieval days, the majority of cutlery was wooden. Aristocracy and the higher classes, however, were lucky enough to own and use metal spoons. It was also tradition for wealthy godparents to gift their godchildren a silver spoon at their christening. Being born with a silver spoon in your mouth suggested that you arrived in the world with this kind of status symbol already on show, born into a life of relative luxury.
You know, this inflation thing is a really big deal. It affects everything. Inflation determines what your money can do. So whether you're running the government, running a business, or running your household, you can't plan properly or plan for long unless inflation is low, stable, and predictable. We need a little inflation to encourage production and growth. But inflation is like your blood pressure. Can't be too high, can't be too low. Inflation is the real heartbeat of the economy.
Consumers and investors feel secure.
Quite an informative conversation we had with Antoinette McKain earlier, but just in case you didn't get all that she said, here are today's fast facts. Whew. Number 1, as at 31 August 2020, the new deposit insurance coverage limit is 1.2 million Jamaican dollars. Number 2, this means that approximately 98% of accounts held in Jamaican banks are fully covered. Number 3, JDIC ensures that if your banking institution fails, each depositor is paid up to 1.2 million Jamaican dollars. Number 4, So if your bank fails, you will be refunded your full deposit balance up to 1.2 million Jamaican dollars. So that means if your deposit balance was 600,000, you'll get back your full 600,000. But if it was $1.5 million, you'll only get $1.2 million, which is the maximum refund under the JDIC. And that's it for this week's Fast Facts.
That's it for another program in our series. Follow us on Twitter at Central Bank JA or on BOJ's Facebook page and our YouTube channel. You can also visit our website at www.boj.org.jm.
And remember, please, we're inviting you to send in your questions to Twitter and on Facebook.
And of course, join us again next week at the same time, right here on your station, when we will have another special guest.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Sheena.
Thanks for watching.
Centrally Speaking is a production of Bank of Jamaica.